What's your philosophy? Answer 12 questions and find out on this new app called What's Your Philosophy? This quiz will locate you philosophically, just like the libertarian Nolan quiz locates you politically. Maybe you are familiar with that quiz. Everyone has a philosophy, whether they are aware of it or not. Now, a few people have studied philosophy, so they've identified with a particular philosopher. So if you ask them, what's your philosophy? They will say, well, I'm an Aristotelian or utilitarian or pragmatist or postmodernist, etc. But most people haven't considered this study of philosophy, so they're living life with a philosophy, but without realizing that this philosophy is influencing their actions and their choices. So, in fact, your philosophy is implied in every action that you take, in every choice that you make. And we can tease it out and find out what your philosophy is based on your actions and your choices. Your philosophy guides your actions implicitly without you realizing it. But we can figure out exactly what philosophy you are being influenced by and why you are taking these actions. So this is what you'll be able to find out in this quiz. You'll be able to find out what your philosophy is, and since your philosophy is guiding your actions and your choices, it is at the root of your character and who you are. So it'll give you a clear diagnosis of who you are. Now, that'll happen if you're honest. And like if you go to the doctor and you have a problem and you tell him the real symptoms, he'll be able to diagnose you. But if you make up things or you tell him what you think he wants to hear, he won't be able to diagnose you properly. So that's what this quiz does. It's a philosophy quiz locator. It will locate you on a philosophy map that divides all of philosophy in 4 quadrants based on their essential differences and with their representative philosophers. So in each area of philosophy, there's a core value or core position that is underlining the basic thinking in this quadrant. And by answering these questions, we will be able to locate you in that quadrant, and you will be able to see what the core positions are of that philosophy and which representative philosopher you are actually being influenced by. I remember when I went to college and I took my first philosophy course, that's how the philosophy professor motivated us to study philosophy. He said, all of you are being influenced by philosophers and you don't even know who they are, because the philosophers influence the culture and the culture is what influences you. So the prevalent ideas in the culture are what is influencing you, but those prevalent ideas in the culture are actually being formed or have been formed or influenced or determined by certain influential philosophers, depending on the culture. So let me flesh this out a little bit and give you some examples of how this works so you can be convinced that you do, in fact, have a philosophy that's guiding your actions. So whatever you do, say you believe in self-sacrifice. Say you're like Mother Teresa. The more you sacrifice yourself, the better person you are. And if you sacrifice and take care of the poor and sick all your life and not of your own needs, then you will go to heaven. And that is the philosophy that's influencing and explaining why she does what she does. On the other hand, if you believe in pursuing your long-term self-interest, your rational self-interest, well, you would not do that. You would not spend your whole life sacrificing your needs for the needs of others and ignoring what you need in life to have a happy, long life. So that would be one example, or just simple examples like, do you pray? Well, if you pray, that's based on a certain philosophy. If you don't pray, that's based on a different philosophy. Everything you do is based on philosophic premises, philosophic ideas that you may not be aware of directly, but are influencing your actions and your choices. I hope that I don't need to give any more examples, but it doesn't matter. Do you go to work and are you proud of your work? Or do you try to live by stealing or scamming other people? Well, those two perspectives on life are based on certain philosophic premises on what you think is going to be an effective way to live. Are you willing to reason? Or you don't want to know the truth, you won't answer questions, you prefer to evade, you don't want to actually reason to find out what the truth is. You just want to either do whatever you want, and you think you can live a good life like that, or you just want to follow some authority that tells you what to do. All of these choices are based on fundamental philosophic premises that were elaborated by a particular philosopher or group of philosophers. So that's what I want you to consider, and that's why I think it's worthwhile for you to answer these 12 questions and go through this process, because it'll help you identify fundamentals in the various philosophies, and it will diagnose you and locate you in the quadrant that suits you, that is what reflects who you are, what your character is, and what you believe in. So maybe I need to give some examples of how the philosophy guides your actions. More examples? I don't know. Whatever you decide to do in life is basically influenced by your philosophy. And since your philosophy is underlining all your actions and choices, it is essentially determining who you are. Now, is that something worthwhile finding out? I would say so. I think it's really important. As they say, know thyself, or a life not examined is not worth living. Well, I believe both those things. And this philosophic app, this philosophy locator, will do exactly that. It will locate you on a map where all of philosophy is represented, and you'll be able to see where you fit on this map, on this spectrum, and you will be able to consider a further development. This is great intellectual exercise with a big payoff at the end, knowing who you are. That's why I recommend taking this quiz. So you can go to the Apple Store or the Google Store on Samsung, and you can download this app, and you can answer the questions, and it will locate you on the philosophic spectrum, just like as I said before, the libertarian Nolan quiz will locate you politically. I hope you don't need any more arguments or reasoning to see that this is in your self-interest and worth your while to consider these questions and get located on the philosophy map. Thank you, and I hope you purchase this app. Go ahead. Bye-bye.